Today, we are traveling back into the past of Alaska. Together, we will witness the gold rush, the harsh lives of the settlers, and much more.
Alaska is not just a region on a map. It feels like a separate world. Here, distance is measured not in kilometers, but in days of travel, and the weather can change within an hour. Even a small mistake can become a threat to life. In Alaska, scale is impossible to ignore. Mountains rise straight from the ocean. Glaciers move slowly toward the sea, and forests and tundra stretch to the horizon. In winter, darkness can last for weeks. In summer, the sun barely leaves the sky. People have lived in this reality for centuries, not as conquerors of nature, but as part of it. Alaska's indigenous people survived through knowledge passed down by experience. They knew how to read the ice, endure storms, and live in balance with the land. For them, this place was never wild or empty. It was home. That is why Alaska's history is different from most places. There's always been a boundary between humans and the land, one that technology cannot erase. Cities can be built, but Alaska remains stronger than human plans. When external powers began to take interest in the northern Pacific, they were not drawn by cities or future roads. What attracted them was value. Something that could be quickly turned into money. Fur. In the 18th century, fur was a global currency. It was traded the way gold and oil would be traded later, and Alaska found itself at the center of this system. The first trading routes appeared. The first trading posts, small, scattered points of presence along remote shores and islands. Russian influence became one of the defining forces of Alaska's early history. But this was not classical colonization, it was not mass settlement, and it was not expansion in the usual sense. It was a fragile network of distant outposts, spread across a harsh landscape. Dependent on supply ships and weather, any settlement could be pushed to the edge of survival simply because a ship failed to arrive on time, or fishing did not succeed. Storms could cut off connection with the outside world for months. Disease spread quickly. Help often arrived too late. By the middle of the 19th century, it became clear that holding such territory was expensive and difficult. In 1867, Russia sold Alaska to the United States. By historical standards, the deal itself seemed almost unbelievable. A vast land changed hands, while most people on both sides of the ocean barely understood why it was needed at all. In the United States, the purchase was often met with ridicule. Alaska was called an icy wasteland, a mistake, a pointless acquisition. It seemed as if the country had bought cold and emptiness. For the first decades, this view appeared logical. The population remained small. Infrastructure was minimal. The territory was far from political and economic centers. Much of Alaska existed outside everyday American life. But history shows that places seen as empty often become the stage for events that change everything. And that moment came suddenly. At the end of the 19th century, gold transformed Alaska and the entire northwestern region of the continent. The gold rush was not just a search for wealth. It was mass migration, almost hysteria. A flood of people moving toward a land without roads, where the climate punished weakness and logistics depended on the season. People arrived chasing dreams of quick fortune. Instead, they found cold, mud, exhaustion, and fear. Routes to mining areas were dangerous. Mountain passes became trials of endurance. Snow, ice, heavy loads, and disease. Some died before ever reaching the gold fields. Others arrived and discovered that gold did not lie on the ground. It had to be taken from nature with patience, labor, and time. Still, towns began to appear. Ports, warehouses, wooden streets, shops, inns, and workshops. Many of these places lived fast and nervously. One day crowded, the next abandoned. Some towns grew, others disappeared. This is how ghost towns were born. Empty buildings, silent streets, traces of hope that did not survive. Gold made Alaska famous, but fame came at a cost. Chaos, crime, land disputes, brutal labor, and disease. From a distance, it looked romantic. Up close, It was a struggle. Asterisk, when the gold rush began to fade, many expected life to become calmer. But in Alaska, calm is always relative. Settlements remained, roads remained, people remained, and the land continued to set the rules. Wooden towns were fragile. A fire could erase entire districts overnight. A storm could break supply lines. Floods destroyed warehouses. Winter damaged what had taken a full season to build. Even warmth became a matter of survival. Food and goods arrived by sea, by river, and later by air. For a long time, everything depended on seasons. When rivers froze, seas stormed, and passes closed, people were left alone with their supplies and time. In these conditions, communities became deeply dependent on discipline, cooperation, and experience. Medicine developed slowly. Disease spread easily. Work was hard. Mining, transport, construction, fishing, logging. Life offered little comfort. But Alaska continued to attract people, not with promises of ease, but with the chance to begin again. A chance to escape poverty. A chance to prove endurance. Here, almost everything was a test. Asterisk, in the 20th century, Alaska stopped being just a distant territory. Geography turned it into a strategic space. This became clear during the Second World War, when even remote islands and coastlines gained importance. Military bases, airfields, and logistics tied Alaska into global history. After the war, another factor reshaped its economic role. Resources. Oil marked a new era. This was no longer a rush of individuals with shovels. It was infrastructure, pipelines, heavy machinery, bases, transport systems, control, enormous investment and enormous responsibility. Projects appeared that could not exist without the state and industry. But even oil did not make Alaska an ordinary place. Building here is harder, operating here is more expensive, and nature remains stronger than human plans. Systems can be built, but they constantly collide with cold, distance, and unpredictability. Alaska's story is not about conquering nature, it is about learning how to live beside it. People built towns, airfields, roads, and pipelines. They changed the economy. But the land was never truly controlled. It still sets the rules. Here, you cannot be careless. You cannot ignore risk. Weather turns fast. Distance punishes mistakes. Silence can feel louder than noise. Every step reminds you that you are a guest. That is why Alaska continues to capture the imagination. It feels like one of the last real edges of the world, a place where the world is still bigger than us. Thank you for watching.